Captain Kim Tae-min stood on the observation deck of the Mars orbital shipyard, watching the final pieces of his ship come together. The vessel was beautiful in a deadly way. Its black hull gleamed under the artificial lights, and its weapon systems were hidden beneath smooth armor plating. To anyone watching from far away, it looked like a research ship. But Tae-min knew better. This was humanity's first real warship in over 50 years. "Captain, the quantum drive is ready for testing," said Commander Park Ji-woo as he walked up, behind Tae-min. Park had been his friend since their days in the Merchant Marine. Now they were both criminals in the eyes of the Galactic Council. "Good," Tae-min said without turning around. "How long before we can launch?" 12 hours, sir. Maybe less if engineer Choi Min-ho keeps working at his current pace." Tae-min smiled. Choi was the best engineer in the human fleet, which was why he was here instead of building peaceful cargo ships like the Council wanted. "And our crew?" 200 volunteers, all ready to follow you into the void if needed. The void. That was what space pilots called the empty areas between star systems where no government had control. If they launched this ship, that was where they would have to go. The Galactic Council had made it very clear that humans were not allowed to build warships. 6 months ago, Tae-min had been part of the human delegation that went to the Council homeworld. He had watched Ambassador Velthar, a tall being made of living crystal, read their request for military construction rights. The crystal alien's voice had been cold and final. "The species known as humans has applied for permission to construct vessels of military nature," Velthar had announced to the massive council chamber. "After review by the Defense Committee, this request is denied. Humans show too many aggressive tendencies. Your species lacks the evolutionary maturity required for such responsibility." Tae-min had wanted to argue, but the human ambassador had stopped him with a look. They all knew that arguing would only make things worse. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council, and they were still on probation. The Council had good reasons for their fear. 12,000 years ago, a species called the Voidlings had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. After that disaster, the Council created strict laws about who could build weapons and when. Law 847 Omega was simple. No species could build warships without Council approval, and that approval was almost never given. But Tae-min believed humans deserved the right to defend themselves. Other species had warships from before the law was made. They just could not build new ones. Humans had joined the Council after the law existed, so they had no military ships at all. When pirates attacked human colonies, they had to wait for Council peacekeepers to help. Sometimes that help came too late. "Captain," Park said quietly, "there's something else. Lieutenant Nam Hye-jin intercepted some Council communications. They know something is happening here." Tae-min turned to face his friend. Park's expression was serious. "What kind of communications?" "Surveillance reports. They've been watching our shipyards for weeks. Energy readings that don't match what a research ship should produce." Before Tae-min could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a voice came over the communication system. "All personnel, report to stations immediately. Council ships detected approaching Mars orbit." Tae-min and Park ran to the command center. Through the massive windows, they could see 3 Council enforcement ships moving toward the shipyard. The ships were sleek and silver, designed more for show than for serious fighting. But they carried enough firepower to destroy the human station if they wanted to. Dr. Lee So-young was already at her post, monitoring alien communications. She was young for a chief medical officer, but her knowledge of alien biology made her valuable. "Captain, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Ambassador Velthar wants to speak with you." "Put him through," Tae-min said. The main screen filled with the image of the crystal alien. Velthar's body caught and reflected light in strange ways, making him look like a living rainbow. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "Captain Kim Tae-min of the human species." You are in violation of Galactic Law 847 Omega. Our sensors detect the construction of an illegal military vessel. You will surrender this ship immediately and submit to re-education protocols. Re-education protocols. Timon had heard about those. They involved removing memories and changing personality patterns. The Council used them on species that showed too much independence. Ambassador Velthar, Timon replied. We are building a deep space research vessel, as approved by your own permits office. Do not insult our intelligence, Captain. We have detailed scans of your vessel's weapon systems, armor plating, and military-grade quantum drive. You have 12 hours to prepare for transfer of the illegal ship to Council custody. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. The screen went dark. Timon looked around the command center at his crew. These were good people who had volunteered to risk everything for the principle that humans should have the same rights as other species. Engineer Choi Min-ho's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. Captain, I can have the quantum drive online in 6 hours if we skip the safety tests. That's dangerous, Dr. Lee said. An untested quantum drive could tear the ship apart. Staying here is more dangerous, Park added. The Council won't just take our ship, they'll take us too. Timon thought about his options. They could surrender and hope for mercy from the Council, but he knew that would mean the end of human independence. Other species would see that humans could be bullied into giving up their rights, or they could run. Take their untested ship into the void and hope it held together long enough to escape. It was a huge risk, but it was also a chance to prove that humans would not give up their freedom without a fight. Choi, Timon said into his communicator, you have 4 hours to get that drive ready. Everyone else prepare for emergency launch. We're leaving Mars tonight. Sergeant Yoon Dae-hyun, the leader of their small marine unit, stepped forward. Captain, where exactly are we going? Timon looked out at the stars beyond Mars. Somewhere out there was space that belonged to no government, where humans could be free to make their own choices. Into the unknown, Sergeant. Into the unknown. The quantum drive hummed to life with a sound that made the entire ship vibrate. Timon gripped his captain's chair as the defiant dawn prepared for its first jump into space. Through the bridge windows, he could see the Council ships moving, closer to the Mars shipyard. Drive is online, Captain, Engineer Choi Min-ho reported from the engine room. His voice was tight with stress. But I'm reading some strange energy patterns. This might not work the way we planned. It'll work, Timon said, though he was not entirely sure himself. All stations, prepare for quantum jump. Commander Park Ji-woo checked his tactical display. Council ships are powering up their weapons. Sir, they're not planning to let us leave quietly. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Engage! The universe twisted around them. Space bent and folded as the quantum drive pulled the ship through dimensions that human science barely understood. For a moment that felt like forever, Timon thought they were going to die. Then reality snapped back into place and they were flying through normal space again, but something was wrong. The ship was moving faster than any human vessel had ever moved before. Much faster. Choi, what did you do to my engine? Timon asked. I'm not sure, Captain. The quantum drive is working differently than expected. We're not just jumping through space. We're sliding through it like it's water. Lieutenant Nam Hye-jin looked up from her communications station. Captain, I'm picking up Council transmissions. They're surprised. One of their officers is saying we just broke several laws of physics. Dr. Lee So-young ran scans on the ship's systems. Whatever we did, it worked. But the energy readings are incredible. This kind of speed should have torn us apart. Their celebration was short. Long-range sensors showed 3 Council ships following them. The enforcement vessels were fast, but not as fast as the Defiant Dawn had become. Still, they were not giving up the chase. They're following us into the frontier sectors, Park reported. That's bold for Council ships. They usually don't go beyond controlled space. The frontier sectors were the wild areas of the galaxy where the Council's laws meant nothing. Pirates, traders, and rebels made their homes in systems too far from civilization for regular patrols. It was dangerous space, but it was also free space. For 3 days, they played a deadly game of hide-and-seek through asteroid fields and gas clouds. The Council ships were persistent, and their captains were skilled. Twice they almost caught the Defiant Dawn in areas where the quantum drive could not be used safely. On the 3rd day, everything went wrong. The Council ships cornered them in a dead system near the frontier border. Taemin tried to jump away, but the quantum drive failed. They were trapped with 3 enemy ships closing in. "Weapons systems online," Park announced. "But Captain, if we fire first, we become the aggressors. The Council will use that against all of humanity." Ambassador Velthar's voice came over their communications system. "Human vessel, this is your final warning. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Taemin stared at the tactical display. The Council ships had them surrounded. Their weapons were charged and ready. In a few minutes, it would all be over. "Sir," Nam Hyejin said quietly, "I'm detecting something strange. The lead Council ship is preparing to fire, but their own regulations say they should try to capture us alive." "They're not planning to capture us," Taemin realized. "They're planning to destroy us and claim we fired first." The lead Council ship's weapons began to glow. In seconds, they would open fire on the Defiant Dawn. "Captain, we have to defend ourselves," Park said. Taemin made the hardest decision of his life. "Fire warning shots. Try to disable their weapons without killing anyone." The Defiant Dawn's weapons lit up space with brilliant energy beams, but their targeting system was not perfect. Instead of disabling the Council ship's weapons, one shot hit their reactor core. The Council ship exploded in a ball of white fire. For a moment, space was completely silent. Then the other 2 Council ships opened fire with everything they had. The Defiant Dawn's shields took hit after hit as Taemin tried to get the quantum drive working again. "Choi, I need that drive now." "Working on it, Captain. The system is overheating, but I think I can get one more jump." The ship shook as more energy beams hit their shields. Warning lights flashed red as systems began to fail. "Jump now, Choi!" Space twisted again, and they were gone. They appeared in an empty region between star systems. The ship was damaged but still flying. However, they had bigger problems now. They had killed Council peacekeepers. Even if it was self-defense, the galactic government would never forgive them. "Captain," Nam Hyejin said, "I'm receiving broadcasts from all over human space. The Council is calling us terrorists. They're saying we attacked without warning and destroyed a peaceful ship." Dr. Lee slumped in her chair. "We're not just outlaws anymore. We're enemies of the entire galaxy." For weeks they wandered the frontier, sectors looking for a safe port. Every station they approached refused to let them dock. Even the pirates were afraid to help them. The Council had put a massive bounty on their heads. Finally, they received an unexpected message from a trading station called Haven's Rest. A merchant named Kilvin, who looked like a giant insect, agreed to meet with them in secret. "I will help you," Kilvin said through his translator device. "But not for free. Your quantum drive technology is worth more than the Council's bounty." "What do you want?" Taemin asked. "Technical specifications. Engine designs, weapon configurations, knowledge that my people can use. It was a dangerous deal. Giving alien species human military technology could cause problems later, but they needed supplies and fuel to keep running." "Agreed," Taemin said. "But we need something else too. Information about what's happening in the galaxy." Kilvin's insect eyes gleamed. "Interesting times, Captain. The Council is very worried about more than just your little ship. Strange signals are coming from the galaxy's edge. Ships are disappearing. Some Council members think something big is coming." That night, while Kilvin's crew secretly loaded supplies onto the Defiant Dawn, Nam Hyejin worked to decrypt the signals the merchant had mentioned. What she found made her blood run cold. "Captain, you need to see this. The signals, they match historical records from the Great Purge. The time when the voidlings nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. Taman studied the data. According to the records, the voidlings had been completely destroyed 12,000 years ago, but these signals suggested otherwise. Are you saying the voidlings are back? I'm saying something is out there, and it's destroying entire star systems. The Council knows about it, but they're keeping it secret. Taemin looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness, an ancient enemy might be awakening. And humanity, with their single illegal warship, might be the only ones with the weapons and will to fight it. Set course for the edge of the galaxy, he ordered. We need to see this for ourselves. The defiant Dawn turned toward the unknown, carrying its crew of outlaws toward a destiny none of them could imagine. The Kepler 442 system should have been full of life. According to the star charts, it had 7 planets, 3 of which could support living creatures. Instead, the defiant Dawn found only death. Captain, I'm not reading any life signs, Doctor, Lee So-young reported from her science station. Not just no intelligent life, no life at all, no plants, no animals, not even bacteria. Taemin stared at the main screen showing the dead planets. They looked normal from space, but the scans told a different story. Every world had been stripped clean of anything that had ever been alive. How is that possible? Commander Park Ji-woo asked. You can't kill every living thing on a planet without destroying the planet itself. You can if you know exactly what you're doing, Dr. Lee said quietly. These readings show molecular-level extraction. Something removed every organic compound from these worlds. Engineer Choi Min-ho's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. Captain, I'm detecting some kind of structure on the 4th planet. It's big, and it's definitely not natural. Take us in for a closer look, Taemin ordered. As they approached the planet, a massive shape became visible on the surface. It was a perfect geometric structure made of black, metal rising from the ground like a dark mountain. The thing was clearly artificial, but its design was unlike anything in the Council databases. Lieutenant Nam, are you picking up any signals from that structure? Taemin asked. Nam Hye-jin worked at her communications station, her fingers flying, over the controls. Nothing on normal frequencies, sir. But there's something... Wait, I'm getting a signal on a very low frequency. It's faint, but it's definitely there. Can you decode it? I'm trying, but the pattern is strange. It's almost like it's trying to communicate with us. Before anyone could respond, the signal suddenly became much stronger. The ship's lights flickered, and every screen on the bridge showed the same image, swirling patterns of darkness that hurt to look at. Then a voice spoke directly into their minds. It did not come through the communication system. It came from inside their heads. Organic creatures. You have entered a cleansed system. Why do you disturb the perfect order? Dr. Lee gasped and grabbed her head. Something's in my mind. It's like ice and emptiness. Taemin fought against the alien presence in his thoughts. What are you? What did you do to this system? We are Sinara. We are perfection. We are the end of chaos. This system has been returned to its proper state. Clean, ordered, free from the corruption of biological existence. The voice felt ancient and terrible. Taemin had read about the voidlings in the historical records, but experiencing one was completely different. This thing viewed all life as a disease that needed to be cured. The biological forms that infected these worlds have been processed. Their chaotic patterns have been eliminated. Soon, all systems will be cleansed. The universe will achieve the perfection it was meant to have. Park managed to speak through the mental pressure. You're talking about the Great Purge. Your species was destroyed 12,000 years ago. Destroyed? The alien voice seemed amused. We do not destroy. Perfect. We were not eliminated. We were sleeping, waiting. Now we wake to finish our great work. The mental connection suddenly broke, leaving the crew gasping and shaking. The alien structure on the planet below began to glow with dark energy. Choi, Get us out of here now, Taemin shouted. The quantum drive engaged just as beams of strange energy shot toward their ship. The defiant dawn twisted through space and appeared several light years away from the dead system. Is everyone all right? Dr. Lee asked, running medical scans on the crew. Define all right, Park said, rubbing his temples. That thing was in my head. I could feel it looking at my memories, my thoughts. It was like being examined by something that thought I was a virus. Taemin called up the star charts on the main screen. Num, show me where those strange signals have been detected. The display filled with red dots marking systems where ships had disappeared or stopped responding. The pattern was clear. Something was moving through the outer edge of the galaxy, system by system, leaving nothing alive behind. How many systems? Taemin asked. 47 confirmed, sir. Probably more that we haven't heard about yet. Sergeant Yoon Dae-hyun, who had been quiet during the encounter, finally spoke. Captain, we have to warn the Council. This is bigger than our little war with them. I agree, Taemin said. Nam, open a channel to the nearest Council station. The communication took several minutes to connect. When it did, the response was not what they expected. This is Council Station Gamma 7. You are speaking to an illegal vessel. End this transmission. Immediately. This is Captain Kim Taemin of the human ship Defiant Dawn. We have critical information about a threat to all galactic life. The Voidlings have returned. There was a long pause. Then a different voice came on the line. Taemin recognized it as Ambassador Velthar. Captain Kim, you are a wanted criminal. Anything you say will be considered an attempt to avoid justice. For your crimes. Ambassador, we just encountered a voidling entity in the Kepler 442 system. It told us they're planning to cleanse the entire galaxy of life. You have to listen to us. The voidlings were completely destroyed in the Great Purge. This is obviously a desperate lie to gain sympathy. Council security forces are tracking this signal. Surrender now, and your crew will be treated with mercy. The connection ended. Taemin stared at the blank screen in disbelief. They won't listen, Dr. Lee said. Even with the galaxy in danger, they still see us as the bigger threat. Maybe we are, Park said grimly. Think about it from their perspective. Humans build an illegal warship, kill Council peacekeepers, and then claim ancient enemies have returned. It sounds like a story we made up. Taemin was about to respond when Nam Hae-jin detected an incoming message on a private frequency. Captain, someone wants to talk to us. The signal is encrypted, but I think it's from a Council ship. Put it through. The screen showed a large reptilian creature wearing Council military uniform. Taemin recognized the species as Bruthan, a warrior race known for their honor and fighting skills. Human Captain, I am War Chief Moxtar of the Bruthan Fleet. I have been monitoring the signals from the outer systems. My homeworld, Bruthos Prime, has gone silent. No communication for 6 days. War Chief, we just came from one of the affected systems. The Voidlings are real, and they're destroying everything in their path. Moxtar's reptilian features show deep concern. The Council refuses to investigate. They say the outer systems are having communication problems. But I know my people. They would not go silent unless something terrible happened. What do you want from us? Taemin asked. I want to see the truth. My ships cannot leave Council. Space without orders. But you are already outlaws. Will you help me investigate what happened to my world? Taemin looked at his crew. They were tired, scared, and far from home. But they were also the only people in the galaxy who knew the real truth about what was happening. We'll help you, War Chief, but we'll need your word that you won't try to capture us. You have my word as a Bruthan warrior. Until this threat is ended, we are allies. As they planned their mission to Bruthos Prime, Taemin realized that everything had changed. They were no longer just human outlaws running from the law. They were the galaxy's first line of defense against an enemy that wanted to eliminate all life. The Defiant Dawn turned toward Bruthen space, carrying its crew toward a confrontation with pure evil. The Bruthos Prime system looked normal until they got close enough to scan the planets. Then the terrible truth became clear. War Chief Moxtar's homeworld was completely silent. No energy signatures, no communication signals, no life signs, Dr. Lee So-Young reported. Her voice was steady, but Taemin could see the horror in her eyes. It's just like Kepler 442. Everything that was alive is gone. Moxtar stood on the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, his large reptilian frame tense with grief and rage. 8 billion Bruthens lived on that world. 8 billion warriors, scholars, children, all gone. I'm sorry, Taemin said. He meant it. No one deserved what the Voidlings had done to these worlds. Commander Park Ji-woo studied the tactical display. Captain, I'm detecting the same kind of geometric structure we found in the Kepler system, but this one is bigger, and it's still active. On the main screen, they could see a massive black pyramid rising from what had once been the Bruthen capital city. Dark energy pulsed around it like a heartbeat. That thing is sitting on top of my people's greatest temple, Moxtar said, his voice filled with anger. They built their machine on sacred ground. Lieutenant Nam Hye-jin looked up from her communications station. Captain, I'm picking up council transmissions. A lot of them. Something big is happening. What kind of transmissions? Emergency broadcasts from council worlds. Altair Prime, the secondary capital, is under attack. The defense fleets are being destroyed. Taemin felt his heart sink. Altair Prime was home to over 20 billion people, from dozens of different species. If the Voidlings had reached there, the galaxy was in serious trouble. Put it on the main screen, he ordered. The display filled with images of chaos. Council warships, designed for peacekeeping rather than real warfare, were being torn apart by weapons that seemed to bend reality itself. The Voidling ships were perfect geometric shapes that moved through space like they were swimming through water. This is Admiral Kethron of the Altair Defense Fleet, came a desperate voice over the emergency channel. We cannot stop them. Our weapons have no effect. They're moving toward the planet. All ships retreat to the outer system and prepare for evacuation procedures. The transmission cut to static. Admiral Kethron is dead, Moxtar said quietly. I knew him. Good warrior, good tactician. If he couldn't stop them, then the council will finally have to admit the truth, Taemin finished. As if summoned by his words, a new transmission came through on the emergency frequencies. Ambassador Velthar appeared on the screen, but the crystal being looked different. His usual calm confidence was gone, replaced by something that might have been fear. This is Emergency Council Session 77 Alpha. All member species are ordered to activate their defense protocols immediately. The threat level has been raised to maximum priority. We are facing an enemy of unknown capabilities. Unknown capabilities, Park muttered. We told them exactly. What was happening? The council session continued. Captain Kim Tae-min of the human vessel Defiant Dawn. If you are receiving this transmission, the council formally requests your assistance. Your previous legal difficulties will be set, aside pending resolution of the current crisis. Taemin almost laughed. They want our help now. What do we tell them? Nam Hye-jin asked. Before Taemin could answer, War Chief Moxtar stepped forward. Tell them we want full recognition of human military rights. No more probationary status. No more restrictions on warship construction. And we want command authority in the joint defense effort. That's a lot to ask, Dr. Lee said. It's what we're worth, Moxtar replied. The humans have the only ship that can fight these creatures effectively. They should be treated as equals. Taemin opened a channel to the council emergency frequency. Ambassador Velthar, this is Captain Kim Taemin. We are willing to help, but we have conditions. This is not the time for negotiations, Captain. Every moment we delay costs lives. Then you should accept our terms quickly. We want immediate recognition of humanity as a full military partner. We want the right to build warships without council approval. and we want joint command of any defense fleet." There was a long pause. Tae-min could hear arguing voices in the background as the council members debated. Finally, Velthar spoke again. "Your terms are acceptable, but only until this crisis is resolved." "Agreed," Tae-min said. "Transmit the location of your rally point. We're on our way." The rally point was at the edge of council space, where the surviving defense fleets were gathering. When the Defiant Dawn arrived, Tae-min was shocked by what he saw. Hundreds of council ships floated in space, but most of them were damaged. Some were missing entire sections. Others were barely holding together. "My God," Dr. Lee whispered. "The Voidlings did all this?" Admiral Kethran's replacement, a tall humanoid named Sul Van, appeared on their communication screen. "Captain Kim, we need to coordinate our defense strategy. Our conventional weapons are useless against Voidling technology." "What about your weapons?" Tae-min asked. "Ship-to-ship combat weapons designed for peacekeeping. Energy beams that can disable ships without destroying them. Nothing that can penetrate Voidling armor." Tae-min turned to his tactical officer. "Park, what do we have that's different?" "Kinetic weapons, sir. Old-fashioned projectiles that hit. Hard and fast. Plus, our quantum torpedoes use a different kind of energy than council weapons." "Then we need to test them. Is there a Voidling patrol we can engage?" Admiral Sulvan checked his tactical display. "There's a small group of 3 Voidling ships moving toward the Centauri system. If you can intercept them, we'll take them," Tae-min said. "Moxtar, are your ships ready for combat?" The Bruthan war chief's fleet had arrived during their conversation. 12 heavy cruisers, all armed with weapons that had been designed for actual warfare rather than peacekeeping. "My ships are ready, Captain. We will follow your lead." The combined human-Bruthan force moved toward the intercept point. When they found the Voidling ships, Tae-min was struck by how alien they looked. Perfect triangular shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "All ships, engage at maximum range," Tae-min ordered. "Let's see what our weapons can do." The battle was brief but intense. The Defiant Dawn's kinetic weapons punched through Voidling shields like they were made of paper. The quantum torpedoes caused massive explosions that sent the geometric ships spinning through space. Moxtar's fleet added their firepower, and within minutes, all 3 Voidling ships were destroyed. "Incredible," Admiral Sulvan said over the communication channel. "How did you do that?" "We built weapons designed to destroy, not just disable," Park replied. "Sometimes you need to fight fire with fire." The victory was small, but it proved something important. The Voidlings could be beaten if you used the right weapons and tactics. "Captain," Nam Haejin said, "I'm receiving transmissions from all over the galaxy. Word of our victory is spreading. Other species are asking for help, requesting human tactical advice." "And the Council?" Tae-min asked. "Ambassador Velthar is calling an emergency session. He wants to discuss new strategic partnerships and revised military protocols." Tae-min smiled. The galaxy was finally learning what humans had known all along. Sometimes peace could only be protected by those willing to fight for it. "Set course for the council chamber," he ordered. "It's time to rewrite some laws." The Defiant Dawn turned toward the council homeworld, no longer a criminal vessel but the flagship of a new kind of galactic defense force. The message came from the deepest scanning stations at the galaxy's edge, and it changed everything. The Voidlings were not just attacking random systems anymore. They were moving toward the galactic core, where an ancient superweapon waited. In the ruins of the first civilization, the heart of creation, Ambassador Velthar explained to the emergency council session. His crystal body flickered with worried colors. "It was built by the first ones, before they transcended physical existence. Legend says it can remake matter on a galactic scale." Captain Kim Tae-min studied the ancient star charts displayed in the council chamber. If the Voidlings reach that weapon, they could eliminate all life in the galaxy at once. The device has been dormant for millions of years, Admiral Sulvan added. Our scientists believed it was just a myth. War Chief Moxtar slammed his clawed hand on the table. Myths do not concern the Voidlings. They are moving toward the core with their entire fleet. If we are going to stop them, we must move now. In the 3 weeks since the first Voidling victory, everything had changed. The Defiant Dawn was no longer alone. Ships from dozens of species had joined what the galaxy now called the Liberation Fleet. Humans shared their weapon designs freely, and alien engineers worked alongside engineer Choi Min-ho to build new kinds of warships. Dr. Lee So-young had made the biggest breakthrough. Working with samples of destroyed Voidling technology, she had developed a neural disruption field that could shut down their artificial minds. The weapon only worked at close range, but it was their best hope of stopping the ancient enemy. The plan is simple, Taemin announced to the assembled fleet commanders. We jump to the galactic core ahead of the Voidling fleet. We set up defensive positions around the superweapon, and we hold the line no matter what. Simple but not easy, Commander Park Ji-woo said privately to Taemin after the meeting. The Voidlings will throw everything they have at us. We're talking about thousands of their ships. I know, Taemin replied. But this is what we trained for. This is why we built the Defiant Dawn in the first place. The Liberation Fleet jumped to the galactic core in the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history. Over 800 ships from 47 different species moved through quantum space together. When they arrived, they found something that took their breath away. The heart of creation was beautiful and terrible. It looked like a massive crystal flower floating in space, its petals made of some material that bent light around itself. Energy patterns flowed through the structure like blood through veins. The weapon is activating, Dr. Lee reported from her science station. The Voidlings must have sent some kind of activation signal. We have maybe 6 hours before it reaches. Full power! Then we hold for 6 hours, Taemin said. The Voidling fleet arrived like a dark tide. Thousands of geometric ships moved in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing the light from nearby stars. At their head was a massive ship that dwarfed everything else in space. That must be their command vessel, Park said. If we can destroy that, we end this war, Taemin finished. The battle began with long-range fire from both sides. The Liberation Fleet's new weapons, based on human designs, punched holes in the Voidling formations. But for every enemy ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. Lieutenant Nam Hae-jin coordinated communications between the Allied ships. Captain, the Centauri Defense Wing is taking heavy casualties. Admiral Qatar is requesting permission to withdraw. Tell him to hold position, Taemin ordered. If any ship breaks the line, the Voidlings will get through to the weapon. Sergeant Yoon Dae-hyun led the ship's marine detachment in repelling Voidling boarding parties. The geometric invaders moved like liquid metal, flowing through the ship's corridors and trying to reach critical systems. They're not trying to capture the ship, Yoon reported over the internal communication system. They're trying to sabotage our neural disruption weapon. Don't let them reach the medical bay, Taemin ordered. That device is our only chance. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed in brilliant explosions that lit up the galactic core. The Liberation Fleet gave as good as it got, but they were outnumbered 10-1. Captain, Choi Min-ho called from the engine room, the quantum drive is overheating. If we keep using it at this level, it's going to fail. How long can you keep it running? Maybe 30 minutes at full power. After that, we're dead in space. Taemin looked at the tactical display. The Voidling command ship was moving toward the heart of creation, using its smaller vessels as shields. In 30 minutes, it would be in position to complete the activation sequence. Park, can we get a clear shot at their command ship? Not unless we get closer. A lot closer. Dr. Lee looked up from her medical station where she was monitoring the neural disruption weapon. Captain, If we can get within 2 kilometers of their command ship, this device will shut down every voidling mind on that vessel. 2 kilometers? Taemin repeated. That's practically ramming range. It's the only way, she said. Taemin opened a channel to the entire Liberation fleet. This is Captain Kim Taemin. The Defiant Dawn is going to make a run at the Voidling command ship. We need every ship to concentrate fire on their escorts and clear us a path. Captain, Admiral Sulvan's voice came back. That's a suicide mission. Maybe. But it's also our only chance to save the galaxy. War Chief Mockstar was the first to respond. The Bruthan fleet will clear your path, human friend. Today is a good day to die with honor. One by one, the other fleet commanders agreed. They would sacrifice their ships to give the Defiant Dawn a chance at the enemy command vessel. The final attack began with every ship in the Liberation fleet firing at once. The space around the Voidling command ship filled with explosions as escort vessels were destroyed or driven off. The Defiant Dawn accelerated toward its target, its hull glowing from enemy fire. Shields down to 20%, Park reported. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Neural disruption weapon is ready, Dr. Lee announced. The Voidling command. Ship was massive, easily 100 times larger than the Defiant Dawn. Its surface was covered with weapons that tracked the approaching human vessel. We're not going to make it, Park said, as more hits registered on their failing shields. That was when Taemin made his final decision. All hands. Abandon ship. Everyone to the escape pods. Captain, what are you doing? Dr. Lee asked. Someone has to stay to pilot the ship and activate the weapon. I won't ask anyone else to do it. You're not doing it alone, Park said firmly. I'm staying too. And me, Choi added from the engine room. Someone needs to keep the engines running. One by one, the senior staff refused to leave. In the end, only half the crew made it to the escape pods before they reached the activation range. 2 kilometers in closing, Park announced. Firing neural disruption weapon, Dr. Lee said. The effect was immediate. The Voidling command ship suddenly stopped moving. Its weapons went silent. Through the bridge windows, they could see the geometric patterns on its hull beginning to fade. It worked, Nam Hyejin said in amazement. Their entire command structure is shutting down. But the Defiant Dawn was too badly damaged to escape. The ship was falling toward the heart of creation, and the engines were no longer responding. Impact. In 60 seconds, Choi reported. Taemin looked at his crew, his friends who had chosen to stay with him at the end. It's been an honor serving with all of you. The honor was ours, Captain, Park replied. The Defiant Dawn crashed into the crystal. Petals of the ancient weapon and the resulting explosion sent waves of energy throughout the galactic core. When the light faded, both the human ship and the superweapon were gone, but they had succeeded. Without their command ship, the Voidling fleet fell into chaos. The remaining Liberation fleet ships hunted down the scattered enemy vessels, one by one. The war was over. 6 months later, a memorial was built where the heart of creation had been. The monument honored all the species that had fought in the Liberation War, but at its center was a simple plaque that read, Captain Kim Tae-min and the crew of the Defiant Dawn. They proved that sometimes the galaxy's greatest laws are written by those brave enough to break them. Commander Park Ji-woo, who had survived in an escape pod, became the first human admiral in the new Galactic Federation. Dr. Lee So-young led the research teams that ensured the Voidlings could never return. Engineer Choi Min-ho's designs became the foundation for a new generation of exploration and defense vessels. The old council was dissolved, replaced by a federation built on cooperation rather than control. Galactic Law 847 Omega was repealed and replaced with the Taemin Doctrine. All sapient species have the inherent right to defend themselves and others. Humanity took its place as an equal partner in galactic civilization, and their first official, Warship class was named the Time-In Heavy Cruisers. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest threats come not from those who break the law, but from laws that prevent good people from doing what is right. The age of human exploration was just beginning.